As we've all heard, we are expecting some snow tomorrow. The totals have been changing all day, but I think it's safe to say we'll see somewhere between 3 and 6 inches of snow during the day tomorrow and into Wednesday. A reminder for those that are traveling during the storm to take it slow and not crowd the plow, and just remember that the roads may be slick. Ahead of the storm, we've closed the yard waste drop-off site, which is traditionally closed. We've posted it that it's closed in November. We leave it open until the first snow. As with previous years, when the snow clears, if weather permits and the ground is solid enough, we'll reopen that. We've also closed Riverfront Park. It's impossible to plow that driveway, so we just get ahead of it. But similarly, when the nice weather returns, we will reopen it. I hope that everyone had a chance this weekend to stop by the annual Festival of Trees in the town center. As always, the program was bigger and better than ever and is a tremendous display of the pride and sense of community that we have here in Tyngsborough. A big shout out to our rec director, Allison Page, and the rec committee, as well as the countless volunteers who make this event happen. The good news is that if you missed it this weekend, you have one more chance to participate. You can visit TyngsboroughMA.gov to view the full schedule for the final weekend. 2 weeks ago, we hosted an incredible What's Happening on the New Hampshire Border at the Edge District at 440 Middlesex Road. We had over 120 attendees from the business sector across the region. Attendees enjoyed a tour of the Metro Rock Climbing Gym, which will be opening soon, and had an exclusive gathering inside Player One. We're grateful to Player One for hosting us and Sam Park and his team for graciously sponsoring the event. We talked about the development that we're doing here in Tyngsborough, ways we can support local businesses and help businesses start and grow in Tyngsborough with a focus on Sam Park's project, obviously, which has been a great project for us, as well as the warehouse project that Marcus Partners is engaged in right on Kendall Road. At the request of this board, we're meeting this week with MassDOT to discuss traffic mitigation issues on Middlesex Road with a focus on the area between Locust and the state line. Once we've had an initial conversation with the state, basically finding out what the state will or will not approve, we'll bring in the folks from Nature's Remedy and Yellow House so that we can foster a cooperative approach to reviewing and addressing the pending issues. Our surplus auction is now live at TyngsboroughMA.gov through our online auction service called Municibid. We have 10 surplus items on sale, ranging from a full fire engine to utility trailers, air compressors, and more. The auction will be live until 4 p.m. on December 15th, and all items are available for public viewing anytime at the DPW yard at 89 Kendall Road. The latest version of The Bridge was released this weekend. As you all know, that's the new newsletter from the Tyngsborough Public Library. You can find the digital copy online at tinglib.org, which is also where you can subscribe to have it e-delivered to your mailbox each month. Or if you prefer, you can obtain a hard copy at the library. We are once again collecting old and unwanted holiday string lights right here at Town Hall. The bin is located outside of the main lobby, so it's accessible for residents 24/7. Residents should avoid putting these items in your curbside trash because they get tangled up and destroy the processing machines both in the trash trucks and also at the dump. Last meeting, we had the Board of Assessors before you for the annual tax classification hearing, and during that meeting, I reminded the folks at home that you should reach out to the assessor's office to learn about any programs that you might qualify for in order to help reduce your tax liability. On that note, residents who fall into any of the following categories may qualify for a real estate tax exemption. That's legally blind, a veteran with a service-connected disability, the surviving spouse of a disabled veteran, or a veteran who died from active duty injury or illness. Senior citizens age 65 plus who meet certain income and asset requirements also qualify. Applications are available in the assessor's office and are due by April 1st, 2026. You can call the assessor's office today to learn if you qualify by dialing 978-649-2300 extension 121. And on that note, I do just want to note the Lowell Sun published a story this weekend about the tax rate coming down. The tax rate came down slightly, assuming that number gets approved, but residential values increased. So if you read the story without really reading the story, it sounds like we've promised a tax decrease, but the tax rate, which as Lauren Wolk, our chief assessor, explained, is the dollar amount per thousand you're assessed. That has come down slightly from this current fiscal year, but valuations have increased. So just the header of the story makes it sound like everyone's getting a tax decrease. The tax rate has decreased, not necessarily the bill that you will see from the assessor's office. Earlier this month, School Business Administrator Joe Messina notified the school committee of his plan to retire at the end of the school year. Joe has been an employee of the school district for 26 years and has been a tremendous partner to the town. I've said this before, but it's worth reiterating that we're very lucky to have a good relationship with the school district, and Joe has certainly been a big part of that. Working with Joe has been a real pleasure, and I just want to take a minute to give him a shout out for what is a well-deserved retirement. Joe is a walking encyclopedia, and his input has been incredibly helpful on things like capital planning, the budget, and much more. We will miss working with him, but he is certainly leaving the department in great shape for whoever comes after him. I believe he's staying on through the end of the current school year. Last week, we completed final round interviews for the Health Department's administrative assistant position. We interviewed 4 finalists, and I'm happy to share that not only were all 4 uniquely qualified for the position, but all 4 are Tyngsborough residents. We're working through the offer process right now with our preferred candidate, and I will update the board once we have an accepted offer. 2 weeks ago, we completed the interview process for our vacant skilled laborer position with the Highway Division of the Department of Public Works. We conducted 5 interviews and have identified our preferred candidate. We've completed the screening process and are now in the offer stage, and our goal is to have that candidate start before the holidays and hopefully before the first snowfall. I wrote this before I knew that it was going to snow tomorrow.
I made a little
Our
sad
candidate,
face next to that.
yeah, our candidate will certainly not be starting before then. On a project note, I had a conversation last week with the folks that are involved in the proposed assisted living continuing care campus at 84 Kendall Road. They are still moving forward with the project as proposed to the town when the select board entered into that development agreement with them. They're currently working with a national company that does these types of projects and are engaged in a conversation with the folks at 93 Kendall to finalize agreements for sewer access. As a reminder, the project at 84 Kendall relies completely on being able to tie into the private sewer network that the folks at 93 Kendall are constructing. This side of town has no more sewer capacity, but what the folks at 93 Kendall did was obtain easements that allow them to run a private system to our main feed on Middlesex Road, which goes over the bridge and into Drake-it, where there is capacity. So if they're able to come to an agreement, the parcel at 84 would connect to 93, which then runs through a bunch of different parcels to Middlesex Road and over the bridge to Drake-it. That was the only feasible way for them to connect to sewer. They have not entered into a final agreement, but they do have a early blessing from the Sewer Commission, and I expect, barring any surprises, they'll be able to make that connection. The Department of Public Works was recently awarded a $10,000 grant from our insurance carrier Maya for various workplace safety items, including new protective gear, traffic cones, traffic signs, and other measures that will enhance job site safety. On top of getting the money to make these purchases, our participation in the program earns us credits toward our property and liability insurance, which ultimately reduces our annual premium. So a double win there. On the procurement side, last week we awarded contracts for our on-call plumbing and electrical services. For the last few years, we've used a blanket on-call contract with fixed hourly rates and material markups to ensure that we get the best pricing and reliable, consistent service. Prior to 2022, basically every department that managed a building would call their own plumber. One was paying twice what the other side was paying. There was no communication. Particularly under the DPW Act, now that we have a formalized facilities division, all of our service requests are coordinated by one person, and using these competitively procured contracts, we lock in rates for 3 years at a time. So we've awarded an electrical contract to Daigle Electrical Corp. That's been the holder of our current contract since 2022. And we awarded a contract to Vanguard Mechanical. That's a new firm to the town, but they come highly recommended from larger clients like UMass Lowell, Jersey Mike's, the Sub Shop. And we actually got better rates than we're currently paying. So the contracts are for a term of 1 year with the option at the sole discretion of the town to extend for 2 additional fiscal years. And the benefit, again, is that we've already locked in prices for those 2 optional years, so we've kind of protected ourselves from future inflation. Also last week, we reviewed proposals from qualified firms to provide peer review services to our Conservation Commission. These services are paid for by applicants before the commission through an accounting mechanism called the 53G account, and similar processes exist for the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals. We received 2 proposals. Unfortunately, one was rejected for being late. After reviewing the remaining proposal, we determined that it was advantageous. They met all of our minimum requirements and came highly recommended. So we'll be awarding a contract to the Horsley Witten Group effective January 1, 2026. Similarly, applicants before the commission benefit from the fact that we've now locked in 3 years of pricing. But again, this isn't money the town is spending. We collect a fee from applicants. Whatever we spend, we spend. Whatever we don't spend, we return to them along with the full accounting. And then finally, just a few upcoming events. Bingo is back this Wednesday, December 3rd at the Center for Active Living. Doors open at 5:30 and the game starts promptly at 6:30. If you can't go this Wednesday, you can go again 2 weeks later on December 17th, but on December 31st, which is New Year's Eve, there will be no bingo. The Tyngsborough Public Library will host its annual holiday party on Monday, December 8th from 4 to 7 p.m. in the library. And for those of you that are musically inclined, you can join the Center for Active Living and the Council on Aging on December 10th to go Christmas caroling in the housing development behind the Center for Active Living. I will not be there because it would ruin the program, but if any of you can sing, I'd encourage you to participate. I think there's Christmas cookies afterwards as well, if that wasn't enough of an alarm. And that is all that I have today, Mr. Chair.